Hey guys, so welcome back to, well, the second tier list, which I've put off for a long time. I kind of wanted to get a new one out there before the weapon refinery system comes out, which, my plans for this tier list, well, I was going to have a special person and everything. I'm going to have them on the next one when we know all the proper details, because for example, units like Merrick and Lynn, like, we don't exactly know what's going to happen with them because they're getting upgrades. Like, Merrick's weapon we do know, Lynn's we don't. That sort of thing. And we don't know how they'll actually impact the meta. But in general though, this is just my thoughts. This does include the newest banner, the Far-Fetched Heroes banner, and I'll give my sort of general best impressions of them throughout this banner. Also, rather than having a bunch of music, I'm just going to probably have this rotated because who doesn't love rotating? But yeah, so to get started, starting with the red units. By the way, very fancy. I'm separating them all into different slides, and I spent a lot of time on this. But so in S plus, I've put Ira, Celica, Ryoma, and Black Knight. Ira is hands down the best sword unit in my opinion, because you can either keep her default base kit, or if you want to be really expensive and flashy, you can upgrade her and give a distant counter and stuff, and use Vantage on it, and essentially make her Ryoma, who is better because her weapon also has a flashing blade effect to it. She's just all around a general great unit. Her only weakness, I would say, is the fact that she can't do both at the same time. Like, well, she can be offensive, but she can't be as, like, hyper-offense as she wants to be on the enemy phase, so that would be our only weakness. But otherwise, if you have an Ira, she's a really solid pick. Plus, she's on the new legendary banner coming up, so she's worth it. Then there's Celica. Celica, again, I think she's amazing. She can do offensive or defensive with distant defense, which she comes with inherently, which I think is a great boon. But normally most people agree giving her life and death is just nuts because she reaches insane amount of attack and speed, and she will just decimate any unit which comes her way. Weapon colour does not really matter with her for the most part. But yeah, plus she's a great counter to a lot of the green mages going around at the moment, so I put her in S+. I think she's really underrated by a few of the other tier lists, and I think she's definitely worth the spot. Then you've got Ryoma. Ryoma is just a staple, I've said this before. Like, we all know about Vantage and Distant Counter, it's pretty obvious. Black Knight, I used to think he was a bit lower, but after using him a bit, I can see he's S+. I would put him up there. He's definitely, I want to say, the best armor unit. Like, maybe Hector's a little bit better just because he's better on defense, but Black Knight, to really use him, you need to have Wrath, which is why I'm a bit skeptical about S+ still, but either way though, Black Luna is just horrible. It kills pretty much most units, including blue units. And the best way to deal with him is to most likely have a Desperation Mage, or just a blue mage who can outright KO him in one hit. Then in S tier, I put Sigurd, Olivia, Lucina, Ike, Erica, Alincia, Arden, and Mia. So, Sigurd, I don't think he's as great as everyone makes him out to be. Like, yes, he's really defensive, but here's the thing, we're still in an offensive meta, and a lot of the time, even if he doesn't, well, die to ranged hits and stuff, more than likely a dancer's going to come along and still finish you off, or you haven't done any damage to them back, and they will probably escape somehow, because most good teams have a way to retrieve units if you can't KO someone. Like, having a horse though is a great boon. He's definitely, I think, the best Red Cavalier in my opinion. Like, that might change once Eliwood gets his weapon upgrade later, but I don't know. But for now, to me, he's S tier. I wouldn't put him in S+, because he can't do all the things he wants to do. But he is a very versatile unit as well, so. Then Olivia standard, she's a dancer, only red dancer, she's pretty bulky, simple as. Lucina, again, everyone knows why Lucina is a great unit. She's just not S+ tier, like, her defense is a little bit too low to be S+ tier. But, yeah. Then there's Ike, who's essentially bulky Ryoma. The only reason Ike's in S tier is because Ryoma has more speed than him. That is the main point. I would say speed is much more important than bulk most of the time. Like, And, like, sadly, he's in that speed tier where he'll get outsped by a lot of things, so... But then there's Erica. Erica is a great buffing unit. Absolutely amazing. Like, her speed's great for defensive use. She's got amazing resistance. Like, there's a variety of different sets you can run on her, depending on what you need. So, to me, she's clearly S tier just for support alone. And she's getting better with offense, with the new skills coming out and stuff, so it's not all bad for her. Elincia S, I moved her down from S+, just because, like, the Archer meta is too strong at the moment. Like, she's definitely got the great offense and the resistance to actually take green mages, but just because bows are so prevalent, she can't reach S+. Maybe if the bow meta dies down a little bit, then maybe, but who knows. Then there's Arden. Arden is, by God, like, this has impacted some of my choices later on as well, Arden in general. But you can either run the Brave Sword set or the Wall set, and either way they are both incredibly deadly. I don't think he's S+, just because, again, he can only do one of them, but then he loses massively out on the other, where a unit like Celica, for example, she can still be defensive, but she's got amazing offensive presence. So that's why he's in S rank. I just don't think he's as great as everyone makes him out to be. Like, he's still a good armor unit, don't get me wrong, but still. Then there's Mia in S rank, and I put her in S because, like, most people compare her to Ira, and the thing you have to understand is, like, yes, Mia has more speed, but the Flashing Blade skill, which they both have, it's built into Ira's weapon, whereas Mia has the Woe Dow effect. Whereas, here's the problem, right? So, ideally, because Ira has it built into her weapon, that frees up her A slot, which means she can use things like Distant Counter, she can use Swift Sparrow. Meanwhile, for Mia to really be a good unit, she needs Flashing Blade, which means she can't use any other A slots. And while you could argue that yes, her +10 on special triggers is nice, they can both still get that from Wrath. So, in general, I still think Mia is an amazing unit, but I just think Ira is better overall and outclasses her for the most part. Like, plus Ira's got better defense as well, which I think is very valuable. But then in A+, I've got Halloween Naui, Tiki Adult, Tarja, Brave Roy, Marth, Mass Marth, Lynn, Tiki Young, Katarina, Hannah, Grey, Eldergun, Athena, by God I'm forgetting his name, Zafil, and Xander. So Halloween Naui, the red mage we all wanted, kind of subpar because of her speed, and she didn't have the defense to be a Ra Raven user, which means the only viable Raven tome user for flying teams is Camilla. But in general, she's pretty good. Like, her Grimoire, if you choose to keep it, works really well with her base kit, and you can give her like escape route to fly around, or if you give her Green Tome Breaker, she beats every Green Tome unit bar what's his name, Merrick, because Merrick has the flying boost. But that may change if Merrick goes for Dark Excalibur later on. But in general, she's a pretty solid red mage. Tiki Adult, like, I've talked about her before. In fact, I'll talk about both Tikis because they're very similar. The main problem is mainly just sort of their res. Like, I think Tiki Young is better because she's got a little bit more and she can survive units like Julia, for example. But otherwise, it's pretty much even for the most part. They both love Lightning Breath, they're good defensive walls, but they don't have a lot of player phase emphasis. Tarja, again, she's another great red mage. Like, we all know how good Blade Tomes are. I'm not going to go too much into her. Brave Roy, like, again, he's very good on the offense, but he can't really do defense for the life of him. Like, and he's really reliant on his weapon. And the fact that Eldergun's going to get the same weapon as him after Refinery does worry me a little bit, because Eldergun could end up being better in some ways because he can be a green mage tank as well. But of course this tier list isn't with that, so. Then you've got Masked Marth and Marth. Like, Masked Marth I've only got here because she's Lucina but without IVs. So that is the easiest way to put it. Then there's Normal Marth. Like, he's got pretty solid stats for the most part. It's just, like, you could argue the bulk's not needed, but at the same time it kind of is. He's more situational than someone like Lucina, who has a very clear role. And he's one of those units who wishes he could do it all, but he just can't. Lynn's an A+, and depending on what Soul Catty's new effect is, she may jump up to S in the next tier list. Because we got the Brash Assault Seal, which means her B spot is now free, which means she can run Wrath. Well, she's the only unit in the game who can double every unit, have Desperation, have Wrath, and Brash Assault. Which is nuts, because Brash Assault ensures doubles on a lot of units, Wrath gives her extra damage and makes use of the low HP, and Desperation is just amazing. So for the most part, she is an incredibly good sword unit now, I believe. Like, even giving her the Brash Assault Seal at 30% is still solid. Katarina, again, very similar to like Taja, but a bit more res tanky. Like, you can use the Owl Time on her, but it's not really recommended that much. Hannah is an amazing Brave Sword user, same with Rodao and things. In fact, Athena as well, I've got the two of them up here just because they're very similar. They do intense amounts of damage. Hannah can't take as much punishment, but she does a bit more damage than Athena, but Athena's got a bit more bulk to her, so... Then you've got Grey. Grey I think is really underrated. Like, Brave Sword on him is incredible. He can reach like 37 speed with the right setup. Even more I've seen with like 42 on like neutral Greys. But no, he's in general a very good bulky sword unit. If you've got him, he's definitely a good choice for your sword unit. And his only real weakness is that he's got all these sets, but he can't do them all at once. Like, that's how I would judge him. But then you've got Eldigan and Xander. They fill similar roles. It's just Xander has distant counter, whereas Eldigan has the -1 cooldown on his specials. Whatever you prefer is your personal preference, because obviously you can give like Eldigan distant counter, but then you give up his A slot. So I don't know. I think Xander's just a little bit better, but Eldigan's still kind of nice. Then you've got Zephyl. He's fallen from grace just because of how the red units are coping at the moment with armors. First you got Black Knight, then you got Arden. He's just down here because there's better armors than him at this point. In A tier, there's Alphonse, Salif, Sophia, Seth, Sanaki, Pala, Ogma, Luke, Longku, Lloyd, Lelina, Leo, Laszlo, Carol, Eldigan, what's his name? Drog, Corin Mail, Crom, Kane, Alm, and Arbis. So this kind of applies to all the sword units in this tier, but they're all generically very slow, and they all really enjoy Brave Sword. Like, for the most part, they all have great attack. Like Laszlo and Crom, for example, they have incredibly high attack, but they're very low on speed. So they generally want a Brave Sword, but then that takes away their main niche. But they're also, in this rank, some of them have moved up because of the Brash Assault Seal, because they're so tanky as well, like a unit like Salif, for example. He can use the Brash Assault Seal and free up his B slot for something a little bit better. But besides that, though, they're not going to be that great. Salif might change, but I don't think he will, because I think Sigurd would still do the whole magic reduction thing better. But then you've got Sophia, who, in my opinion, is the best Ra Raven user and perhaps the best Raven Tome user in the game. I know I made her guide recently, and I think a lot of people underestimate the power which a Ra Raven Tome has on her, because she's got such amazing bulk and attack as it is. Her speed doesn't really matter, because she's going to get quadded by bows anyway. So, Seth's down here, because he's like Xander and Eldigan, just a weaker version, but he's a very good green wall in general. Sanaki, again, she's another Ra Raven user. She's kind of like Sophia, but she's got more attack but less bulk. But she can also do non-Ra Raven sets as well. Pala's down here because she's like middle of the road for red flyers in general. Like, she's definitely better than Shida. But she's more of a defensive unit these days. Like, she's used more for her bulk, if anything. Ogma, well, he's the sword unit. Luke's down here because he has Brave Sword, but he's like the one unit who doesn't like Brave Sword. He really wants something else, like a Rodao. So, yeah, that's why he's down here. I don't think he's that great. And in general, like, I've got Kane in the same tier, but I think Kane's better just because Kane has slightly better offensive stats, in my opinion. But then there's Lonku. Lonku is kind of like Athena and Hannah, but just weaker. Same with Lloyd. Leo and Lilina's like Sanaki. Leo is another great Ra Raven user, but he can also do Ra Blade. The only reason he's not an A- is because he can do both. If he could only do the one, I'd put him in A-. So Carol, again, another unit like Hannah and Athena. It's just his niche is that he has a heck of a ton of HP, and yeah, it does nothing for him. If anything, he wants low HP because he's a desperation user. But his niche then becomes that he can theoretically be paired with a tank, and also sorry about the dogs. You can pair him with any tank, and he will pretty much be guaranteed to heal them back up, and he can use skills like Infantry Pulse and Panic Ploy. That's his niche, but it's not the best niche in the world. Eliwood, he's like Sigurd, but less speedy and tanky on the defense side. But once he gets Blazing Durandal, then he might just become a lot better, because he's got pretty decent attack as it is at 34, and his res is incredible, so he could become like a niche green mage counter again. Drugs down here, because same reasons as Sophia, there's just better red units coming out who are armors. Corin Mal, I've boosted up just because I've got a couple of people who argue with me, and I still don't like him as a unit, but I will admit with Brush Assault he's a little bit better. So then there's Arvis finally. Arvis is there's another unit later on who I'll compare him to, but he's got a lot of ploys, that's his gimmick, and he's a really amazing debuffer and support unit. Like, he could essentially dish out 10 HP to someone every single turn if you wanted to. But his speed is his main problem. He can't be an offensive red mage, and that limits him to that one set, which means he's super predictable in what he's going to do. But then in A-, you've got Starl, Selena, Roy, Navarre, Summer Leo, Hinata, and Shida. So Starl, he's again like a Xander, but worse. If anything, he's like Seth 0.5. But yeah. Then Selena, again, she needs better stats. Like, yeah, she's really bulky and speedy, meaning she won't take a lot of damage, but she hits like a wet paper towel, I'm not gonna lie. She needs like so much investment to be good. It's just normally better to use somebody else unless you really love Selena, which makes me sad because I love her. But then there's Roy. Roy in general, he's a very sort of disappointing unit. Like, he's very average, and he can do offense or defense. I think he's more inclined to defense just because of his weapon. But in general, though, he's just not as good as some of the other units. Navarre is essentially like a weaker Carol. Like, he's not got much going for him, and he's one of the few units I don't think's had a repeat Grand Hero battle yet, so his merge count is on the lower side. Summer Leo, again, he's a Ra Raven user at best, but his defense is atrocious. If anything, you use him for ploys, but now Arvist exists, it's like, what are we gonna do? Then there's Hinata. Hinata is kind of like Lucas in a way, but he's a lot worse, I feel, just because of his colouring. Like, you see more blue units in the arena rather than green axe units, let's say. But for the most part, though, I think he's okay. I've seen there's one guy in tier 20 who has like a steady breath one, but it still dies straight away, I'm not gonna lie. It's very easy to play around him. So for that reason, he's A-. I might move him to A. I was kind of debating it, but I don't know for now. And then finally, Shida. We all know the sad story behind Shida. She's lacking attack, which is her main thing, but she's got great speed and res. So she can be, if you give a distant counter, she could be a good green mage wall and hit back a little bit. Especially if you give her Ruby Sword, like, it'd be pretty nice. Then in B tier, these are the kind of units who I would say they are just generally outclassed, which are Saber, Reg, Henry, and Fear. Like, Saber, essentially, like, his gimmick is that he has quick shield pulse activations, but in general, no one uses those skills. So, he's just in general a bad unit and outclassed normally by someone every way. Right, he's an all-rounder for a mage. Like, all his stats are like almost perfectly balanced. But if anything, as a mage, you would want to be specialised in something, and he just can't. And that's the sad thing. Like, yes, you can run all these different tomes on him, but there's normally almost someone better for that role. Then there's Henry. He's a really good Raven mage. However, he just can't dish the attack back, and most archers will still live their encounters, which, if they're living on low HP, that's where they want to be, because they get Dancer support and they can get off Desperation. Finally, the Spear. She's kind of meh. Like, she's got amazing resistance, but again, she needs a lot of investment. I would still class her as B tier. Like, maybe A- on a good day, but... finally, in C, there's Tobin. Tobin, there's normally no reason to use him unless you love him. Like, I've got a friend who loves Tobin, and sadly, she just can't build him because he needs so many expensive skills. It's like, she would just rather use somebody else. But anyway, though, that's my opinion on the red units. Moving on to the blue units. We have in S+, Tada, Reinhardt, and Cordelia. Let's start with the obvious one. Reinhardt is clearly the best mage in the game and probably the best unit, just because of how incredible he is. I'm not going to go too much into it. Tana and Cordelia, they're very similar stat-wise. Like, the difference is literally a point of attack and speed and how it's allocated. Like, Tana's 1 point faster, but 1 point weaker. But they both got their own niches, and they're great with Fire Lance, Brave Lance. Tana's got a Vidofnir, so they're both amazing. And there's going to be a Tana banner soon, so pull for Tana. In S tier, I have Azura, Effie, Hinoka, Lindy, Brave, Lucina, Alwyn, Lucas, Delthea, and Luke. So, Azura, again, she's a dancer and very good offensively, so not much to say. Effie, we all know why she's good. Brave Lance, distant counter, things like that. Hinoka is essentially just a weaker Cordelia, like, for the most part. It's not like there's much difference. She trades it for a little bit more bulk, but the bulk doesn't do her much good. But she does have home flyers, and besides Naui, Halloween Naui that is, she's the only native version of it, so she's still valued for that. I'll talk about Lindy and Delthea together. Basically, because Lindy's soon going to get that Dark Aura Tome, like, I think Lindy will be better, but at the moment, Delthea is normally considered better. But essentially the same unit, just Delthea's got more attack, Lindy's got more speed. Like, they can both run Blade and things, so they're both S tier. Brave Lucina, she's pretty incredible, can do defensive sets as well. Again, I don't think I need to go too much into her. Alwyn, I apparently need to justify. Like, so, you can run Blade on her, yes, but I think people really underestimate the fact that she's a fast Reinhardt. Like, yes, she doesn't have the attack, but she can quad hit units, which, if you are quadding hit units anyway, you are more than likely able to proc a special every single time, which, in her case, if you use Iceberg, that is a lot of damage. She will normally KO most units if she can quads them. Like, and she's got Brash Assault now, available to her as a Sacred Seal, so mages don't really have an argument either, but... Oh, I need a drink. But then I've got Lucas. Arguably, people are going to yell at me because they know I'm a Lucas fanboy, but here's the thing. So, Arden is very similar to Lucas, except Lucas, rather than having the advantage of always getting the double and has to rely on quick riposte, instead he has 2 movement. And that 2 movement I think is incredibly valuable. And on top of that, he also has access to the Brash Assault Seal, which, if you use Brave Lance, means you can have a quad attacking Lucas. If you have standard defensive Lucas, if you do need to attack, you can pretty much double once quick riposte is gone. So, either way, it's pretty solid for him, and I put him in S. He's definitely, I think, at the bottom of S tier, but that's just my opinion. Finally, Luke, the new unit, again, she's S tier. Really wanted to put her in S+, but I just don't see it at the moment. Maybe later on. She's basically Arvis, but better, because she has 32 speed, which is in line with Arvis. But then, considering the fact her weapon gives her +3 speed, and she has a speed ploy as well, like, she's more than likely going to outspeed units, and considering Fury is her best ace lot by far, like, she will reach 38 speed with, like, I think it's 53 attack, and if you have a plus speed IV, that's 41 speed. So she is, in general, an incredible unit. Like, I don't get people who put her in A+, like, looking at the Fire Emblem Wiki. She's definitely a solid unit. In my opinion, she's probably the best infantry mage in the game at the moment. In A+, I put Nafini, Tyler 2, Oscar, Bridal, Shida, Camus, performing art Shigure, Samakorin, Shananananana, Volta, Robin M, Robin, Female the Summer Edition, Naui, Ninian, May, Bunny Lucina, Est, Ephraim, Donald, and Claire. So I'm going to talk about all the blue mages bar Shigure at the moment. So they can all run Blarblade, and that is why they're in this tier. If they could not run Blarblade, they would probably be lower. But for the most, well, this doesn't actually include Male Robin. I'll talk about him in a second. But they're all generally quite fast. They've got solid attack behind them, and they've all got their own niches, but none of them are able to sort of beat Delthea, Lute, or Lindy. So that's why they're in A+. The exceptions to this would be Robin Male, who's on here purely because of Blarraven, because he can just tank so much. And May, I would normally put her in A, but I put her up here because she can actually run a Bowbreaker Blarraven set quite well, especially if you're plus attack, minus HP. So she's a niche pick for up here, but I definitely think she's worth it. Going back to the physical unit. Actually, let's talk about Shigure now. Okay, somebody needs to explain to me why people rate performing art Shigure as S tier, because I just don't see it. Like, he is an awful unit for offense, unlike any of the other S-rated dancers, which is why they are S-ranked. Like, the dancing skill alone, I think, puts you in A tier. Like, no matter how bad your stats are. But, like, to be in S tier, I think he would need to have some kind of presence, and he just doesn't compared to someone like Azura, or Olivia, or Performing Arts Olivia, for example. And I think it's just really sad, and it's not even his attacks to blame, it's his speed. And I think his best set is a Blar Owl set, but then that's so situational, it's like, he might as well be using somebody else. But yeah. So, back to the physical units then. Nafimi, she's pretty solid. She's kind of like Lucas, but fast. But in general, she kind of falls behind Lucas in my opinion. She's still amazing and she's on the verge. But I kind of expected her to stay active in the arena, but she really didn't. Like, at least I've never seen a Nafini after she was a bonus unit in tier 20 of arena. So. Then there's Oscar. Oscar is the best horse cavalier, like blue horse physical cavalier in the game in my opinion. He's better than Camus, who is also next up. But it's mainly because his offensive stats are just amazing and he's got some pretty nice defense to back it up. And you can either run the Sapphire Lance set or Brave Lance. Like, Camus is good because he's got distant counter, but in general I just think sometimes he falls behind and he's really reliant on something like Fury. But, I don't know, in my opinion Oscar's better than him, but they're both A+. Next up would be Volta. Volta I think is a really underrated blue flying unit. Like, he's not like the levels of Cordelia or Tana, but he's got some pretty nice offensive stats. And I don't know why I still get asked this, but please don't give him Fury. Please don't give him Fury. Summer Robin, she's pretty solid. She can run a variety of sets. Her main problem is the fact she can only run one of them, and it's kind of hard to say what's the definitive one for her, which also works in her favour because you never know. Like, you can't plan to say, oh, I'm gonna be fighting Fury, Deft Harpoon, Renewal, Robin, or if you're gonna be fighting a Sapphire Lance, Lancebreaker one. Like, you never know, so I think that's a strength for her, but I think she just fails to push herself into S rank tier. Then there's Naui. Like, I don't see how Naui is like the best. Well, I think she might be the best dragon at the moment, but I don't see her being S tier just because you've got Julia and Deirdre now running around with Nargatomes, and you've still got Falchion users about. But in general, I still think she's a solid pick. Like, she's got some pretty nice defense and that, and hitting resistance is also very nice. Ninian, again, same reasons for Shigure. She just can't do offense, so she's A+ at most. Like, she's got some nice bulk and speed to her at the very least, but she's more of a definitely full support. Est, she's kind of like Tana and Cordelia, but like, she's really heavily reliant on defense pull, and if she doesn't get that off, she completely falls flat on her face, I'm not gonna lie. Having 5 less points of speed than Cordelia really hurts her, so. Ephraim is A+, but I could almost guarantee he's going to be going up to, what do you call it, S rank. Sorry, I just had to replay the music. Yeah, he's definitely going to be going to S rank, I feel, when the Ruckman Refinery thing comes out, because he gets the definite follow-up attack at 90%, I think it was. I don't know the exact details. Plus, he might have other versions. But also, I think it said it does attack by +4 now, which is more than Erica. But the main reason he's up here at the moment is because of his speed. If his speed was faster, he would definitely be better. But because how low his speed is, he can't take doubles as well as Erica can, for example. Then there's Donald. Donald is essentially like budget Lucas, in my opinion, because he's a free unit. Wait, I think he's a free unit, isn't he? I'm going to claim he's a free unit. But, you know, he's definitely very good. Like, Brave Lance is a nice pick for him. You can also do a quick riposte set, so it's up to whatever your fancy is, but I just think Lucas outclasses him. And then finally there's Claire. I still think Claire's really good. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, she can do Fire Sweep, she can do Killer Lance, or Slaying Lance, I guess now. She's got all these sets, and the only things holding her back is there's better flyers, and she's a flyer herself. But back when the game first came out, she was pretty amazing, and I don't think much has changed for her. If anything, it's just new units coming into the game. Then we look at A tier. I've got Abel, Bakut, Roderick, Shana, Ursula, Perry, Gwendolyn, Corin Female, Clive, and Bridal Charlotte. So let's talk about the Cavaliers first. So the reason they're all here and underneath Oscar and Camus is the fact they all can run Brave Lance, or well, most of them can run Fire Sweep. I'm not going to talk about Bakut and Clive's abysmal speed, but if they run Brave Lance, they're all amazing, but they just fall behind someone like Oscar, for example. But the reason I put Bakut and Clive up here, which is probably what I'm going to get slack for, is the Brash Assaulter Seal, because they have the defense to take a hit. And so they could take one hit, let's say, and normally if you're doing a Brave Lance set, they will probably KO straight away. And if they get low enough on HP, they can start quadding units, which I think is a very good asset for them. I don't think you'll see an awful lot, which is why I only put them here, because otherwise it'd be incredible. But for the most part though, I think they're all roughly the same at this point. It's just your general preference. Then you've got Ursula, who she's kind of like Owen, but she's not. She can't do the quad. She really wants Blah Blade. But Blarwolf's getting a buff, I think, but we don't know what that is yet. So for now, I put her in A. Sharina, she was like the best Lance unit for a really long time. But I think these days, Summer Corin, who's got better average stats than her, is just better. And her speed's kind of low now for a Lance unit. So I put her in A. I can't really say for sure because I don't use her, but I think she has fallen from grace a little bit. Gwendolyn's an A just because she's like Resistance Armor Knight, but she's really niche and gimmicky, so you don't see her a lot. Then there's Corin Female. She's a pretty good dragon, but she just fails in comparison to someone like Naui. Like, she can do like pure damage sets and stuff, but besides that, not much. Finally, Bridal Charlotte's here because 1, limited edition, and 2, she's kind of squishy with Brave Lance, but that's like her best weapon, or Fire Sweep. So I put her here just because I think there's better Lancers these days as well. In A-, I put Aboros, Sabaki, and Matilda. What do you call it? Aboro's here kind of for the same reasons I have Hinata where he kind of is. I put Aboro higher though because I think her cutler's better for doing quick riposte sets and that. Plus she can do distant counter as well, which is always nice. Tsubaki, he's a pretty bulky blue flyer, but he fails offensively for the most part, so he's kind of limited. And then Matilda's down here because she's a really niche res pick, but she would be A rank, but her colour is really bad for her because res tanks typically want to be red or green at the moment. And being blue is most harmful because you're weak to green mages and Reinhardt, so... Then in B tier, you've got Sully, Odin, Jagan, Claire, and Springsander. Sully and Springsander are just awful horse emblem units in my opinion. Like, they can work, like anyone can work with horse emblem buffs, but I think there's normally better options. Claire just lacks the attack. She's kind of like the blue Sheeda in my opinion. But Yeah, I think she's got a little bit more attack, but not much else going for her. Then Odin, I put in B because he's very good with Blah Raven, because he's got some amazing defences, but besides that, his attack's not going to be hitting anything. And then finally, Jagen's down here because of his poor stats in general. Finally, in C rank, there is Florina. Poor Florina. I don't know why I keep thinking you're fast, you're not. You've got 29 base speed, and not a lot of attack to back it up either. So, for the most part, she's C rank. I think she's outclassed by most flyers these days. If she can get something better, then hopefully she can, but otherwise, she's meh in my opinion. But anyway, the green units, and by God, my favourite pool. Not because it's the smallest pool, but I think it's got the best units in general. So, in S plus tier, I've got Hector and Emilia. Everyone knows why Hector's S plus tier, I'm not going to talk about it. Emilia, I think, is like Hector, but she can run distant counter, but she's got tons of different sets she can run. She can be fast, she can be slow. I think in general it's hard to predict what Emilia's going to run, like most you'll see with distant counter, but it's the people who don't have distant counter which catch you out. So, then in S tier I've got Performing Azura, Summer Elise, Brave Ike, Minerva, Sonia, Nina, Julia, Cherchi, Deirdre, Performing Arts, Inigo, and Dorcas. So let's talk about the dancers first. Performing Arts Azura is up here, and mainly because of her weapon, like it's amazing, but also her stat spread is incredible as well. But I'm going to say this now as a public video announcement. Can people please stop running distant counter on her? Like, I don't get what you're achieving, because like I can get it, you want to counter Reinhardt, yeah, very very nice, but this is the problem I see. I see people put her on a team and then they pair her up with someone like Julia. Now I'm like, but Julia counters Reinhardt, and I really don't care what you say, but if you have a counter to Reinhardt on your team, having two is kind of overkill, as bad as that sounds. Because then, if the team doesn't have Reinhardt, which a lot of teams in the higher tiers actually have started to not use Reinhardt, they're trying to be a bit more creative. But, what do you call it? I'm just like, stick with Triangle Adept, it's so much better, because otherwise, like, for example, my Tana, she's blue. On offense, she can KO a Performing Arts Azura. Like, she can't do it if she's got Triangle Attack, though. Or Triangle Adept. So, I'm like, please. Stick to Triangle Adept if you've already got a counter on the team. But then there's Performing Arts Inigo. He's a very good bow counter with Gron Raven. He can also be a Reinhardt counter. His only problem is, can't do both. Like, you can tank one hit, but you can't tank the other. And that is kind of a detriment to him. Then there's Summer Elise. In fact, I'll talk about all the green mages now. Apart from Deirdre, I'll get to her in a second. They're all pretty good. They've all got like unique tomes. Nino and Elise are very similar because of their speed and attack stats are just slightly different. They're kind of like the Lindy and Delthea of green units. But they're both just as good as each other in my opinion. Sonya has Dark Excalibur, which we all know how good that is. Plus she's pretty fast and got a lot of attack to back it up. And even when Merritt gets his, she'll still be better. Then there's Julia, who is the blessed like Naga tome holder. Except she was, then she wasn't, and now she might be again. Like, comparing her to Deirdre, her mother, she's got more attack, and I think a bit more defense, whereas Deirdre's got more resistance and speed. But I like, enjoy Deirdre more because of her time's effect, and I'll probably enjoy Julia as well when she can get it. But Deirdre having that naturally, and having something like distant defense, she can beat like every green mage in the game. Like, Nino cannot touch her like that badly, and I think it's a great asset to have. Brave Ike, he's up here. I don't think he's S plus just because he falls to mages kind of easily, and people, they've got this thing where they want to just counter him, but then that ruins his weapon's effect. And I've seen Vantage, and I'm like, why are you using Vantage? Because that's really counterintuitive against this weapon. Like, I get why you have it, because like massive attack, but I think in general there's better like B slots for him. Like quick riposte is much better for him, because obviously you can run sets where you like prop bonfire every single turn, which is insane. Minerva, she's pretty decent for the most part. I think she's obviously like the best green flyer, maybe Cherchi. Like, the main difference is Minerva is naturally fast and hard-hitting, but can also use Vantage and stuff like that. Meanwhile, Chi, while she's slow, she's got massive attack. Like, she's got the second highest attack in the game, and Brave Axe just destroys people. Like, trust me. So, that's why they're both up here. Yeah, and then there's Dorcas, and obviously, as you can see now, I think this whole new banner is S tier. Like, they're all amazing. Dorcas, he's essentially Green Lucas, I'm not gonna lie. He's Green Lucas, but he's got distant counter. So, it makes him really worth it. If only he had a bit more res, he could counter Reinhardt as well, which then I would put him in S+. But otherwise, for now, he's kind of there. Yeah. He can also run Brave Axe as well, which is another reason to keep him in S rank. But anyway, in A+, I've got Halloween, Henry, Raven, Bowie, Summer Tiki, Soren, Female Robin, Legion, Faye, Cecilia, and Spring Camilla. Halloween Henry, I nearly put in S+, but I think his defense is just 1 or 2 little points low for what I'd like it to be. Like, yes, he can counter Braveland, but he can't counter the very best of them unless he's merged. And he'll be a limited edition unit. Plus, on top of that, there's kind of competition between some of his slots, so I put him in A+. I just don't see him being S tier. Plus, his one move hampers him. Like, he needs Armor March support badly. Let me see. So, Bowie and Cecilia, Bowie, Cecilia, Soren, and Female Robin are all up here due to the versatility in the tomes they can run. Like, they can run various things, but they're not as good as the mages in S tier, in my opinion. That's how I see it. Spring Camilla, on the other hand, though, she purely really wants Gron Raven. Like, yeah, she can run Gron Blade, but I think Gron Raven's better for flying teams because she's, like, the best flyer to counter archers at the moment. And considering she's going to be on the Legendary banner as well, I would say highly pull for her. Then there's Raven. Raven's pretty solid as a unit, as are, like, Summer Tiki and Legion. Like, the reason they're all up here together is because they all run Brave Axe incredibly well. Like, Tiki is a better Brave Axe user than Dorcas in my opinion, but Dorcas can also do defensive, whereas Tiki really can't. So that's why they're all up here. They're very similar to me. Then finally there's Faye. Faye's a great dragon for the green team. Like, yes, she's the only one, but she's a great Reinhardt check in that, and is often underestimated. In A tier, I've got Titania, Frederick, Spring Crom, and Summerzander. Easiest way to put it, the horse units, they're very good, and they've got their own niches being Res Tank and Brave Axe for Horse Emblem, but Cecilia's normally still the better pick. And then you've got Spring Crom and Summerzander, who can also run Brave Axe, but not as well as the ones in A+. That's how I see this tier. A-, I've got Anna, Sheena, Narshin, Nicholas, Hawkeye, Camilla, and Bartray. So, Hawkeye, Bartray, and, well, yeah, just those two. They can run Brave Axe as well, but they're kind of slow. They can be tanks, but the speed hinders them. Anna is pretty good because she's naturally fast, and she's got a lot of warping potential, but she really wishes for more attack, and she's normally outclassed by most of the other Axe units by this point. Sheena's down here because she's kind of like Gwendolyn, but I feel like her attack these days, like, she's just outclassed by Halloween Henry now, who's better overall for the job. Then you've got Narshin. Narshin, I think, is really underrated, considering the fact if you give him distant counter, he can be a very good blue mage check. Like, his resistance isn't as bad as it seemed. Like, I don't know why I never noticed it, but it's like, you give him distant counter and he can KO Narshin. Not Narshin, Reinhardt on the rebound. Which I think is amazing. Then there's Nicholas. He's like very similar to Minerva in stats, except his speed is really low. So I'm like, I can't really put him that high. But he's still very good. Like, he's a very good Vantage user if you can get him low. So, then there's Camilla. Like, I think she's arguably the worst of the Green Flyers, maybe. Actually, no. I just remembered I put Peruka lower than her. But like, she comes with Brave Axe, but she's got abysmal attack, really. Her best set requires Emerald Axe, Distant Counter, and like a Green Tone Breaker, which then she's like a really niche pick, but otherwise I still think there's better units for the job. Then finally, in B tier, I've got Arthur, Gunter, Merrick, Baruka, and Bartray. So, let's talk about the obvious one, Merrick. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, you put Merrick really low. Like, I'm not gonna lie, Merrick has a niche, which is being a flying counter, and you can also run close counter, but, like, you normally want a better green mage on the team, and I just don't see it being him. Like, he might be better once he gets Dark Excalibur, but then he loses his niche of being able to use flying units, so we'll have to see how it plays out and what everybody else gets. Arthur, he's kind of like the worst axe unit, I want to say. Like, he can kind of do brave axe and stuff, but he normally just wants to keep emerald axe or have like a killing axe or something. Gunter, again, he's just a terrible horse unit, and like that's the curse of being like the old man in Fire Emblem games. So Baruka, she hasn't really got the best defensive spread. She can be a very good defensive fly, and she's kind of like Tsubaki in that regard, but otherwise normally better options. And then finally there is Barst, and Barst, I just don't see him being that effective these days. So, but I will say, like I said, green's the best tier because I didn't put anyone in the C tier. So finally though, we have in the grey units, and I had such a dilemma on what to call this, because I know somebody's going to tell me, oh, you spelled colourless with a U. Oh, what do you call it? This now you spell grey, spell it with an A. Well, I'm British, so. But either way, colourless wouldn't fit in the top. And then it wasn't until I watched a video after making these graphics where somebody was like, oh yeah, I called them clear. I'm like, obviously. But S+, pretty obvious, Bravelyn, Bridal Cordelia. Not gonna lie, like, I've seen some people move Bridal Cordelia down because she's limited edition. Not anymore, folks. Like, again, I'm gonna say this. If you want to help me get more Bridal Cordelias, because she's like my favourite character, and I have a figurine of her, and, like, I love the bridal class in general, because I think the dresses were super pretty and everything. Hit me up. But, no, they're both S+ for obvious reasons. I'm not going to go too much into it. S tier, I have Summer Gaius, Inez, Leo, and Performing Arts Olivia. So, with Olivia first, she just keeps getting better. Like, before, she was, like, a very good Reinhardt counter, and then, like, she had Poison Dagger as well as an option to be great infantry counter and offensive dancer. Then the Halloween banner came and she can now get Kitty Paddle, which with her res, like, she can essentially do Sakura's role while also being a dancer, which I think puts her in S rank easily. Like, plus that's great against Reinhardt as well, like that's more damage against him. As for these three archers, Ainz and Summer Gaius are very similar, just I think Ainz is more attack. But they both are very solid choices for Brave Bow and make great use of ploy skills. But they can also not make use of ploy skills and have other options with like life and death and things. So generally very good. Leon, I need to say this now. He's definitely up there. Like I want to say he's like the best unit in S tier, just because give him Bow Breaker and like Brave Bow and Death Blow, and he will counter every single bow unit in the game. Well, I'm not even kidding, he can live most of them. As long as you're not like minus HP or defense, he can live them all and most of the time KO them back. He's got great attack and defense. And I think it's a shame not a lot of people actually use Leon. Like, I have a Leon with 3000 hero merit, and he's honestly really worth it. Like, yes, he doesn't quad units, but he doesn't need to, because his role is to double them, get off so much damage with Death Blow, and then tank hits as well, which I think is a really nice niche, which is what Ainz and Gaius do as well, because they're like the resistance version. But A+ tier, I put Felicia, Kagero, Halloween Jacob, Halloween Sakura, Takumi, Klein, George, and Elise. So let's look at Felicia and Kagero. Felicia's a really good mage killer. She's very similar to Halloween Sakura. Halloween Sakura is better though, just because of the stat spread. But doesn't mean Felicia's bad. Felicia's still got her own niches and stuff. Like, she's an incredibly fast unit. Like, and that is a reason she's over Halloween Sakura, but you have to give up that Halloween Sakura to make her the best she can be. Kagero has Poison Dagger. Like, I still don't think she's fallen off yet. Like, I still see numerous people on like Tumblr and stuff where they post a screenshot and they've got like 3 Kageros on their team in the gauntlet. Like, I still think she's pretty solid, and I think Poison Dagger is still a viable unit, as is the new mage one. Halloween Jacob, I've seen people put him at S. I nearly wanted to, but then one move is really bad for bow units, I feel. Like, they want that ability to get in and out, and he just can't do it without Armor March. But otherwise, he's great. He's a lot like Leon, so... Takumi, he's like... He's fallen from grace, and he's getting some kind of upgrade to Fujinumi. But besides that, his best set would be, like, Brave Bow with Bow Breaker as well, because he's got decent defense, but it's just not as good as Leon's. And because of how it is, he kind of falls off a little bit. Then there's Klein and George. They're the next best Brave Archers, essentially, by standard as. Finally, Elise is still the best healer in the game, in my opinion. She can run a set where she only dies to like 5 units, and all of those are the ones which have native horse-slaying weapons. If you don't know what this set is, it essentially involves running, like, I think it's 3 ward horse emblems or something. Or it's like 2, it's like a fortify, a ward, and then an attack one. So you give her absorb and raffle staff, and then you give her like attack +3 or something, or even defensive skills. And then essentially the idea is when a unit attacks her, like she can tank the hit, and then she just absorbs it all back. It is nuts. But yeah, that is pretty much the A tier though. Well, standard A. I've got Summer Frederick, Bridal Lynn, Satsuna, Virion, Rebecca, Sakura, Priscilla, Lucius, Clarine, and Clarice. But yeah, so healers in this tier, they're either in here because they have a horse or they've got pretty good speed and bulk. That is the main reason. I'm not going to go into them individually because you can swap the skills around and stuff. Lucius is probably the only exception. But that's because he's got good speed, which makes him probably the best user of Raffle Staff, in my opinion. Because he's got decent attack as well, so... then there's Summer Frederick, who's like Kagero, and he really does like budget. He likes Poison Dagger, but he has less attack, which makes it not a good option compared to Kagero. But he's also very defensive as well, so... Satsuna, Virion, and Rebecca, and Clarice are all in here again because they're like the next wave of how the archers are rated. So A-, I've got Gaius, Lissa, Maria, Saizo, Sarah, Gordon, Jenny, and Faye. Again, archers, well, yeah, they can do Brave Bow, but they prefer defensive sets if anything, which is where they kind of fall off. Jenny's down here, like, yes, she has Raffle Staff natively, but she's kind of slow, so she can't make the best use of it. Then there's the healers. Again, they're either lacking a stat or they're outclassed by someone above them. Gaius, he's kind of down here just because he's kind of a good, like, what do you call it, dagger unit, but besides that, he's kind of meh. Saizo, I'm actually still debating if I should move him to A, because I made this before I answered the ask on it, but I found someone asked me, can you make him into a bow like counter? I found out you can, and he can KO every single bow unit in the game if you give him like bow breaker, steady stance, or like distant defense or something. So he might be worth it, but I think there might be better bow counters in general. So for now I put him at A-. Then in B, there's Lachesis, Matthew, Niles, Mist, Jacob, Jafar, and Azuma. Like, the healers here, again, next wave, they're all generally quite slow. Azuma's the only one with a real niche in that he can tank a lot of hits and deal tons back with Pain and Savage Blow, but besides that, you just don't really want to be using healer in general. Then you've got Matthew, he's kind of like Gaius, but a little bit worse. Same with Jacob, like, he's like he wants to be the defensive version of Felicia, but he just can't. Jafar, he's kind of good, but he's not, again, like, his best sets rely on either a sweep skill or poison strike, and his weapon in general just doesn't do him a lot of favours, but I think it's getting an upgrade as well, so you never know. And then there's Niles, who is the worst archer in the game, but that's not to say he doesn't have a use, which is being a mage counter. It's like, the reason he's this low is because Ainz and guys can also do it, but they have better sets. But basically, you use him to bait up mages and he destroys them with a 2-turn iceberg. That is essentially how he works. Finally, in C tier there is Riss. There is no doubt about it. Riss is the worst unit in the game, except if you give him that sweet, sweet defense ploy. Like, I'm sure that 36 resistance, get it? Resistance will come in handy. But essentially, that is my tier list. And my throat is very, very sore, and this video is nearly an hour. But hey, I beat the last tier list video, so... But I will be posting these up on their own. Like, I've been waiting to for a while. But, in general though, that is my general impressions. Like, you can let me know what you think, if you think someone's high. And like I said, I placed these based not on how they are, like, with their current upgrades which are coming. And I will probably make a future one as well, but I just wanted to get one out there because there's been a couple of banners and stuff. And I am also going to make a video about the summoning for the legendary banner, because I made a post on it, but I think people will get it more if it's in a video. So, anyway guys, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'm glad this song was super long. See you next time. Bye.